toothbrush? Brush, brushy, brush, brushy, brush, brush. Brush, brushy, brush, brushy, brush, brush. Brushy first and up and down.
Brush, brushy, brush.
Brushy first and round and round.
Brush, brushy, brush.
To keep teeth happy is the truth.
Brush, brushy, brush.
You gotta brush each and every tooth.
Brush, brushy,
The
brush.
teeth in the front get a lot of care.
Brush, brushy,
But
brush.
don't forget the ones back there. Brush your teeth. Keep them looking clean and right.
Brush, brushy, brush, brush.
Brush your teeth. Every day and every night.
Brush, brushy, brush, brush, brush.
Now your toothpaste may taste good
Brush, brushy, brush.
when you got it in your mouth.
Brush, brushy, brush.
But you should never swallow it.
Brush, brushy,
You
brush.
got to spit it out. Go on and spit, we'll wait for it. Brush your teeth. Keep them looking clean and right.
Brush, brushy, brush, brush.
Brush your teeth. Every day and every night.
Brush, brushy, brush, brush.
Now it's your parents' turn. Here's what you gotta do. Let them have your toothbrush so that they can brush your teeth. Great job, you're almost done. 5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
now spit!
How to deal with a knocked-out tooth. A childhood visit from the tooth fairy is one thing, but having a permanent tooth knocked out is another, distinctly less enjoyable affair. Act fast, and it could be a temporary one. You'll need sterile gauze pads, a cup, and water. Optional, a moistened tea bag and whole milk. Step 1. Find your tooth, or piece of tooth, as quickly as possible. Step 2. Pick it up by the tip only, not the roots. Step 3. Apply sterile gauze to the socket where the tooth was knocked out to staunch the bleeding. Step 4. Gently rinse the tooth in a cup of water. Move fast. A dentist has the best chance of reimplanting a tooth within 30 minutes. Don't try to wipe the tooth clean or hold it under running water. Step 5. Place the tooth back into its socket. Do this for adults only. Children may swallow the tooth. Step 6. Place a gauze pad or a moistened tea bag over the tooth between the bottom and upper teeth and very gently close your mouth to hold it in place. If you are unable to place the tooth back into the socket, submerge it in a cup of whole milk or your own saliva, not water, until you can get to the dentist. Transporting the tooth dry can cause permanent nerve damage to the tooth within a few minutes. Step 7. Seek emergency care immediately. If you cannot get to a dentist right away, go to a hospital emergency room, and don't forget the tooth. Did you know? No one's sure exactly how the tooth fairy myth started, but its modern version, a fairy that replaces a shed baby tooth under a pillow with money or candy, didn't show up until the early 1900s.
Hey, hey, teach me how to brush it. Hey, they be like mouth. What? Can you teach me how to brush it? You know why? Why? Cause all my teeth love me. Okay. All I need is a brush of good condition, and for you to use toothpaste and brush it. Hey, put your arms out front, brush it up and down. Germs be leaving when they see you on that brushy ride. Ain't no black and tartar living in my mouth tonight. You gotta brush it right until the morning light. Okay, pull out your string and it's time to get your flossy on. Get at the food, make your gums grow up nice and strong. I floss in public and people sometimes stare at me, but you just do you, and I'ma floss like me. I brush and floss every night, baby, if you please. So I grow up healthy, no sign of gum disease.
Teach me how to brushy, teach me how to brushy, teach me how to brushy, teach me how to brushy.
All my teeth love me, all my teeth love me, all my teeth love me, all because I do the brushy.
Oral Health 2012. That's how we do.
Teach me how to brushy, teach me how to brushy, teach me how to brushy, teach me how to brushy.
All my teeth love me, all my teeth love me.
it was time for Topsy and Tim to visit the dentist. Mummy took them to see Mrs. Berry, the dentist at the health centre. They sat in the waiting room and read comics. The dentist's door opened and out came Josie Miller and her mummy. Josie smiled at Topsy and Tim. "I've got to wear a brace on my teeth," she said. "Why?" asked Topsy. "To make my teeth grow straight," said Josie. "Mrs. Berry is ready to see you now, Topsy and Tim," said the nurse. "Hello, twins," said Mrs. Berry. "Your surgery smells funny," said Topsy. "It's a nice clean smell," said Mummy. "Who wants to go first?" said Mrs. Berry. "Me," said Tim. He climbed into the dentist's chair. Mrs. Berry pressed a button and the chair tilted back. Tim felt like a rocket pilot. Mrs. Berry put a disposable mask over her nose and mouth. "What's that for?" asked Tim. "So that I don't breathe over you," said Mrs. Berry. "Open wide and let me see your teeth," said Mrs. Berry. Tim opened his mouth as wide as he could. "This small mirror will help me look for holes in Tim's teeth," said Mrs. Berry. "Little holes can turn into big holes, and big holes can turn into toothaches." There were no little holes in Tim's teeth. "Your turn now, Topsy," said Mrs. Berry. She found a little hole in one of Topsy's teeth. "I'll clean that hole and put a filling in it," said Mrs. Berry. "It'll stop pieces of food getting in and turning nasty." First, Mrs. Berry hung a sucking tube in Topsy's mouth. "That's to stop you dribbling," she said. The tube made funny sucking noises. Then she used a whizzy drill to clean out the hole in Topsy's tooth. The nurse gave Topsy a glass of pink water to rinse her mouth. The nurse mixed a tiny bit of silver filling. Tim watched her. "That's Topsy's filling," she said. Mrs. Berry pushed the silver filling into the hole in Topsy's tooth. She pressed it down and made it perfectly smooth. "There, good as new," said Mrs. Berry. "Did it hurt?" asked Tim. "The drill was noisy," said Topsy, "but it didn't hurt." "You've both got good teeth," said Mrs. Berry. "Keep it that way. Eat lots of different foods, but remember, sweet foods can hurt your teeth, so don't eat them too often. Never forget to clean your teeth in the morning and at bedtime, and don't eat or drink in bed." "Not even water?" said Tim. "Only water," said Mrs. Berry. "Sweet drinks can hurt your teeth as much as sweet food." Mrs. Berry gave Topsy and Tim a badge to remind them to look after their teeth. "Come back and see me soon," she said. Before they went home, the receptionist wrote down the date of their next visit. A little boy came into the waiting room, trying not to cry. "It's Tony Welch," said Topsy. "What's the matter, Tony?" asked Tim. "I've got toothache," sniffed Tony. "He eats too many sweets," said Tony's mum. "Never mind," said Topsy. "Mrs. Berry will make it better." Then they went to the chemist to buy new toothbrushes. "Mrs. Berry won't find any holes in our teeth next visit," said Topsy and Tim.